It's simple. I love it. Having you near me, having you here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life with Anita's podcast tonight. And we are going to be interviewing Antoine Jordan. He has a lot of great insight into cybersecurity, tech, and mental health. And he's also an amazing speaker. So I'm going to bring him onto the show right now for you guys to get a chance to learn about him and who he is. Hi, Antoine. Nice to talk to you on the show tonight.
Hey, Anita, how's it going? Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you have a lot of different topics that you are an expert in. Now, cybersecurity, I am nowhere near an expert. So, tonight, maybe you can teach me a little bit about that. But just tell me now about the cybersecurity aspect of what you do. What is your position when it comes to cybersecurity? What does that entail as far as your work?
Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but I am not an expert either. you know, I've been working in cybersecurity for coming up on about 13 years now. I
Mhm.
started through I joined the military back in 2011, and that's actually how I got into cybersecurity. And doing that, it helped me get my security clearance. I got my Security Plus certification, and that's really when I got immersed into it, as well as getting into GovTech. So yeah, I love cybersecurity. It's a great field. It is definitely not easy to be
Mhm.
in, but it has always been worth it. So yes, I definitely love it. Currently, I'm doing what is called a GRC, so it's governance, risk, and compliance, which is more of the policy and risk management side of cybersecurity.
Okay. And now you also have your own company. If you want to tell people what's the name of it and what all do you do?
Sure. Yes. So the company is called Cyber to CEO, and started that with a friend of mine slash we used to be coworkers, and it's still early. We're still starting out. We're trying to get everything off the ground, but essentially our goal of how we were going to structure it is to do career consulting within cybersecurity. So helping not only the youth, but students, young professionals, and even experienced professionals navigate getting into cybersecurity, as well as just navigating different aspects of being in it, where all the way from a kid in elementary school, if they just want to learn about STEM and tech and cyber, all the way up to an experienced professional, and maybe they're trying to get into leadership, or
Mhm.
there just may be times where they're trying to navigate certain scenarios at work to kind of take them to that next level, as well as that part. And we plan to have a clothing line that is adjacent with that, and kind of our slogan is empowering cyber careers with style, look good doing it. And the it is framed like IT, where we're showing there's a side of cyber. Stereotypically, if we say we do cybersecurity, people assume, because a lot of people in cybersecurity, they seem to either not really be approachable, not you know they're not looked at as the social butterflies that are into fashion and all that. But there's a whole other side of it that people don't understand, or that they don't see, that we want to bring light to, that it can be cool to be in cyber. You can wear your Jordans, you can wear your fashionable
Mhm.
clothes and still be a cybersecurity professional. So that's what we're doing with that.
And now you being in cybersecurity, now I don't know too much about it, but is that kind of where you can create your own hardware and things like that for cybersecurity? Is that something that is part of what you do or you're looking to do in the future?
So just the term cybersecurity in and of itself, it has become very broad, very, very broad. So whenever there's students or professionals that I mentor, and if they ask me, I want to get into cybersecurity, I first always tell them, okay, narrow down about 3 to 5 different positions within cybersecurity, because there are hundreds, literally hundreds, thousands of different jobs that are classified as cybersecurity. So
Hmm.
it can be daunting at first, but we kind of try to help them, lead them in that direction, because depending on ultimately what they want to do, that path can look very different. Where you start um, is very crucial to how you get there, and it does have to do with hardware. That's not necessarily what I do right now, but I have done
Hmm.
that in my career. There's a lot of things, when you hear about hacking, or
Yeah.
Even if it's not hacking, there are things in your everyday life that cybersecurity is incorporated in. Things like your banking, where you go log into your bank and they ask you security questions that you have.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's going to ask you your mother's maiden name. It's going to say, your old address. It might, things like that. I would always
Hmm.
tell people have a set of alternative answers to those questions, but don't answer the actual question. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
if I'm having a conversation with you, it's called social engineering. But if I'm having a conversation with you and in 15, 20 minutes, I'm kind of just getting to know you and I'm just like, oh, where are you from? And I can get those answers out of you just through a casual conversation. But if
Yeah.
you say in your head, okay, whenever I see my mother's maiden name, I'm not going to actually put that. I'm going to have this answer instead. So someone can't just get your information.
Okay. And now I've never heard of it that way because when we do applications or when we create these accounts, they're always asking us like this personal information. And it's like, what street you grew up on or what's your dad and mom's, maiden name and things like that. And mentally, we first think like, well, let me just, answer it the way it is and just
Hmm.
put that answer. But then you don't think that how many other people have you told this information to? And they have that access that they could possibly gain. So that is something I've heard for the first time, what you just said about thinking about answering it different and just remembering that answer, even if it's not actually what the question is asking.
Right, right. As well as little things that teaching people incorporating cybersecurity into your everyday life. Things like, let's say you have your maps on your phone, and
Hmm.
it gives you the option to put your work or your home. I would tell people, first don't do that. Maybe have a different name for it, as well as simple as your contacts. In your phone, don't put mom or don't put Aunt Joyce, don't put
Hmm.
dad. Put their actual names because hypothetically speaking, if somebody stole your phone, if they got into your phone and unlocked it, they would just say, "Take me home," and now they have your address. Or they would say, or they could text your mother that you say, "Mom," say, "Hey, mom, I'm stranded on the side of the road. Can you come pick me up?" And your mom
Wow.
you wouldn't know any better. You know what I mean? And that has happened before. So just little
Hmm.
things like that, just kind of keeping it, being diligent of stuff like that in your everyday life.
Wow, listen, you teaching me so much right now because I'm that person where it's like when I get a phone, the first thing I'm thinking is like, oh, just put everybody as who they are, or put your destinations and select where it is. And I'm not thinking that what happens if I do lose my phone or something, and the person's like, well, that's where she lives, that's where she works at, this is over here, and I did not think about that. So you dropping some gems tonight, Antoine. Thank you for that. Listen, you gonna have me redo my whole phone?
Like I'm extra paranoid, so a lot of these things can be seen as a little extreme, but it is real. These are possibilities of things that could happen. So I'd usually just tell people it's a lot easier to have little tidbits of cybersecurity in your everyday life rather than thinking there's these big monumental things that you have to do that just seem so complicated.
Yeah. Now, another thing that you speak about and that you have knowledge about is mental health. So, would you like to tell the listeners where you stand as far as mental health and what you are trying to accomplish as far as that topic goes?
Absolutely. So I'm actually working on creating another company. Just with my cyber to CEO company, I have a business partner that we started that together. But I'm working on starting my own company, just myself, in regards to what we were saying as far as professional speaking and speaking to military, the youth, just in general, anybody about how important mental health is and normalizing, prioritizing your mental health. And I'm very open with people that I go to therapy, and usually if I tell people that, they kind of think something's wrong, and it's
Hmm.
no, it's maintenance. It's just the same as
Yes.
I look at it as no different as going to the gym. You brush your teeth, you wash your face, you take a shower. It's maintenance of your, it's wealth in your health. It's maintenance of your mind, and I think that people may not understand how prevalent mental health is in your life, as well as just little things that, I always tell people if you want to find out, jokingly how messed up you are, go look in your childhood because that's where it's hiding. And as you
Hmm.
start kind of digging through it, peeling back some of those layers, you find out, oh, this is why I'm this way. Because when I grew up, this happened. And I've always just been fascinated with like human behavior and people
Mhm.
watching and just kind of predicting. But through therapy, I realized that that is actually it is a trauma response for me from some things that
Mhm.
happened in my childhood. My comfort zone became recognizing patterns in people's behavior because the definition of fear of the unknown is anxiety. And so I told my therapist, I was like, so are you telling me I've had anxiety my whole life? Because
Mhm.
fear of the unknown is very real. Like I'm not it's hard for me to be a go with the flow type. I need a plan, I need a list, I need
Uh-huh.
something, in front of me in order to feel comfortable. So I definitely want to raise awareness on it of people taking it serious. And
Mhm.
you hear the words anxiety or PTSD or things like that, depression. It's not, I want people to learn it's not these big scary terms that you have to be worried. If anything, it's you might have it and you need to do something about it.
Mhm. And I think what you just said, a lot of people they have this notion that, oh, if I start to talk about something's wrong, if I try to say maybe I need to go see a therapist, now I'm this crazy person and something's wrong with me. And they don't understand that no, you're taking care of yourself. And a lot of times the way that we are as adults, a lot of that has came from, just like you said earlier, if we have childhood trauma. There's times where I went to therapy and I've talked to my therapist, and it was like, well, remember when you said that this happened when you were this age? That's why it's like that now. And you don't think about that until you actually go seek that help. And so I think what you're doing and what a lot of people are doing, when we do try to cater to that mental health sector part of things, it's just how important it is to take care of your mental health and to not be afraid to just say, listen, I need to talk to somebody. This is going on. And whatever it is, understand there's nothing you should be ashamed of, that you should actually just say, let me embrace this and get healthier for myself more than anything else. So,
Right, exactly. And one of the things that my therapist told me that has always stuck with me, and I always share with people because it was so real and it just hit me so hard, is he said the mind is an amazing, beautiful, dark, scary place.
mm-hmm,
And if you don't fully understand what that means, there are times where, mental health issues, it might not necessarily be an issue, but your mind could be telling you something that is not your reality. And if you don't understand that your mind does that at times, you're not going to be able to fight against that and mitigate it. You're going to think, oh, these thoughts going through my head, are what is happening. And it might not be what's happening. But if you can understand that, hey, there's going to be times that my thoughts are going to run a little wild, but that doesn't mean that's where we're at right now. It can help you kind of separate the two. Like, all right, here's my thoughts, here's reality. Now that these don't match, I know that I need to kind of regroup and figure out how do I get back to the middle ground.
and now, what techniques, Antoine, would you give someone that is like, you know what, I'm dealing with anxiety. I'm not always able to go and talk to my therapist, and my therapist won't always be here. What techniques would you give, given your experiences, to help them to get through their anxiety when they're not able to go sit down and talk to their therapist or talk to anybody?
So typically I'll tell people, one, it takes a lot of practice to be self-aware of things that trigger you, things that upset you, things that make you happy, and really trying to take the moment to recognize those. And I always say, try to keep 3 to 5, if you can, try to keep 3 to 5 guaranteed stress relievers on hand at all times. It's funny that we're talking about this because even earlier today, I was at work and someone who I look at as, I have a lot of respect for them. I look at them as somewhat of a mentor and
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. They did something today that kind of crossed the line with me, and I
Mm-hmm.
felt a different side of me kind of creeping up, that side that I fought to not creep up, and a piece of me was kind of like, I wish you wouldn't have done that, because
Mm-hmm.
the old me, you get one chance. You get one chance to try me, and then after that, in my head, my brain has rewired to look at you differently, and I can't go backwards. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting with that right now. Of, you know what? Maybe it was
Mm-hmm.
just a moment. Maybe they have something going on at home that made them react this way. Let me not just completely write them off, because we have had a great relationship up until this point. And so, for instance, things I was saying of stress relievers. For me, listening to music. I love music. You know, as you saw, we did the karaoke. I love music.
Yeah.
I love singing. I love spending time with my daughters, my wife. As well as I would tell people, if you can, if you have the option, have a tribe or a pod. You know, that could be family members, that could be friends. They can be your therapist. You know, unofficially. Sometimes,
Mhm.
sometimes you might just need to talk to somebody and just say, "Hey, I don't need you to do anything right now. I just need you to listen. Can you just give me like five? Can you just give me like 8 minutes? And I just need to let it out." And sometimes just letting it out, you'll just feel so much better. You don't need anything to be done. You just need to let it out and say how you feel. Going to the gym, that's definitely, you get the endorphins going. That's definitely a stress reliever. And having those things on hand whenever things get tough, if you can think in the back of your head, like, all right, I'm feeling something right now. I need to recenter myself. I need to regroup. Do I have it? Can I listen to music right now? Can I go work out? Can I go spend time with my family? Take and have a few of those, because you're not going to be able to do all of them all the time. And use that to regroup yourself and recenter and kind of get back to, kind of being in a calmer state.
Okay. Now that was amazing. I think a lot of people need to hear techniques because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to deal with whatever's going on until I go sit down and talk to my therapist or until I just figure it out. So I think it's good when people have some kind of plan, some kind of techniques that they can use, and you can just utilize those yourself or you can create something so that it helps you with that. Now I'm excited because in March, Antoine, you are going to be one of the speakers at the Power of Community Summit. And I am very excited for that. I know that you are doing public speaking and you really have a lot of information and knowledge. And so I'm excited for that. Um, what do you feel like you having a mental health business? What do you feel like that's going to do for the community in your words?
I think for one, it is. I mean, I'll be very honest. It is exciting, and it is humbling as well as a blessing, but it is very nerve wracking because
Mhm.
I'm not a licensed therapist. I am a mental health enthusiast. I love reading up on it, but I don't have a certification. So there's this piece of me that's looking at it as, all right, is someone going to come to me and question, like, well, hey, you're not. Why should I listen to you? You're not a certified whatever. Um, but on the positive end, I can just see how there's such a stigma around just the words. If you just say the words mental health to some people, it just kind of it heightens their anxiety a little bit, and it's kind of like, oh,
Yes.
are we about to have a deep conversation? And I usually, if I talk to people, I kind of say, you can drive how this goes. I'm just here to listen. If you want to talk, if you don't want to talk, that's fine. But I want to normalize things like going to therapy, recognizing triggers, having conversations with people that you are close with, and sometimes that you're not close with, to recognize how prevalent mental health is in your everyday life and how you can really help. Because there are times where I don't think people understand, if your mind is not right, it's gonna everything trickles from there.
Yes.
Something as simple as, you're about to, I'm sure everyone's experienced it. You're about to go to work, something happened. You got coffee on your shirt in traffic. Somebody cut you off. You got a text message. Something happened. You got a meeting. You're about to prepare yourself mentally to go into that. Something happened, and you kind of just can't even get it together. And simple things that you do every single day that are easy almost seem more difficult to do. Just driving in the car,
Hmm.
walking, and it's like, where's my keys? Like, little stuff is like,
Yes.
if you could take a second to regroup yourself, like, okay, I always leave the keys right here. But just little stuff like that, normalizing it to just to be a resource for people to be like, it's okay to not be okay sometimes, but it is not okay to not do anything about it. If you don't do anything about it, it's just going to put you in a much worse state, and that trickles into your job, it trickles into your family, your work, everything.
I think that's great that you said that because a lot of people don't realize that if your mind is just like the smallest things can like throw you off the whole day, like that really creates a true domino effect. Now, if there is anybody that has heard you on the show tonight, Antoine, and they want to reach out to you, connect with you, as far as your cybersecurity, as far as the mental health, and as far as you being a speaker, how can they go about doing that?
Sure. So, um, I'm very prevalent on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I do a lot of more of the tech side of things, but getting
Mhm.
more into kind of putting more of the mental health things on LinkedIn. If some, let's start with the cyber side. If someone wanted to get in touch with me, I have my LinkedIn that I could post. I have my Instagram page, or I have both of my pages, my business page and my regular page. And every Thursday I do a Zoom call. So there's a cybersecurity group that I am part of called Professor Rogers Cyber Lounge. And every
Mhm.
Thursday we do what's called Career Thursday. And I essentially have kind of my own show, and it's called Antoine's Arena. So people will tune in, they'll ask questions of how do I get into, it could be something as simple as how do I get into cybersecurity, or all the way down to sometimes it might only be a small group of us, and it's just a safe space for that night of someone really got on my nerves today and I just need to
Mhm.
vent. And we're like, all right, let it out. This is a safe space. We are not going to judge you. We've all been there, up until someone, hey, trying to get into leadership. I don't know how to go about this. I'm in a room with a bunch of high level people and I get nervous and I just don't know how to navigate. And we just kind of help them navigate those different situations. On the
Okay.
mental health side, I'm working on getting my other business started up, but trying to do more and more appearances, like uh, like your summit that you have coming up in March. So definitely appreciate the invite for that. I'm working on some other things that I will be speaking at a college in March. I'm not putting that out yet because it's not official, but that is in the
Mhm.
works. So I will actually be speaking at a college soon, as well as when we connected at Natural Life Frisco. I'll be
Yeah.
collaborating with them on some events and just kind of getting my name more out there, getting more speaking events. And so Instagram, LinkedIn, and right now those are the main places people can find me, as well as as well as eventually I'll kind of start putting a professional email out. Right now I just have my personal, but usually if anyone hits me up on LinkedIn or Instagram, that's a good place.
Okay. Now, Antoine, I ain't gonna plug the fact that I know you can sing. Now you should have an album.
Once upon a time back in the day, I may or may not have made a little bit of music. And I'm not putting it out, but you know it, that so and actually that I come from a very musical family.
Mhm.
So especially on both sides of my family, mom and my dad's side, but on my mom's side, my grandparents, they sang, my mother sings, my aunts, on Christmas we do soul train lines. And my uncles, I have multiple uncles and cousins who play instruments, they play the piano. So we're just everybody singing and dancing and all of that, on the holidays when we all get together. So that's I've just grown up in that. Music and singing, and I sang in the church choir as a kid. That's just been my life since birth, basically, even before I was here.
Okay. Now, as we get ready to end our show, Antoine, is there any words that you would leave the listeners with that you feel like the world needs to hear something in encouraging words?
Yeah, I would definitely say when it comes to mental health, this is not my quote, but it is a quote that I live by and I love two of them actually. The first one, I don't know if it was Will Smith who originated it, but I know he definitely said it. But it's when you stay ready, you don't got to get ready, and
Mhm.
that can be all aspects of life. That can be in your professional life, that can be your mental health, that can be anything. And the second one is make time for your wellness, or you're going to make time for your illness. And that
Mhm.
is physical, that's mental. I want people to know that there is nothing wrong with not being okay mentally. But if you don't do anything about it, then it's never going to just go away. It takes a lot of work. That mental health is not just a buzzword. There's a lot of work and a lot of discipline and determination that comes behind those two words and what that looks like.
Well, thank you so much for those encouraging words. Antoine, I learned a lot from you being on the show. I hope the listeners learned a lot. You have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things, and I wish you so much success on everything that you are doing. I'm excited that you'll be speaking at the summit in March, and you are truly an amazing energy. And so, more success that I am wishing to you on everything that you do. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I really enjoyed having you and learning a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely look forward to working with you more and collaborating. And I really appreciate just in the short conversation we had when I first met you, just kind of your spirit and your energy of I could just feel that we were similar as far as wanting to be a vessel and help in the community, and you recognized it. And when you invited me to be here, it was kind of nerve wracking, but I've been learning myself to kind of get out of my own head and just
Mhm.
take blessings that are sitting in front of me and not deny them. So you've definitely been a blessing in the short amount of time we've known each other. I definitely look forward to collaborating more.
Yes, I can't wait for all the great collaborations that we are going to do. And it has been amazing having you here, just to listen to you and see just the powerful mind that you have and how genuine you are in the things that you're passionate about. That's truly amazing. So I want you to just keep being amazing and just be motivated because we need more people like you. So thank you so much for sharing your insight about so many different things.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Life with Anita tonight. If you want to reach out to Antoine Jordan, make sure you listen to what he said earlier to follow him. He is truly an amazing person, and you definitely want to get connected with him. Thank you, Antoine, for being on the show. See you guys on our next episode. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.